I'm Rob.
I'm E.
I'm Brian.
Hey, what's up? I'm Infinity Knives or Tariq, depending on how you know me from. I've just released King Cobra with Brian Ennals.
Yeah, it sounds like 1982 my disco bag. Yeah. If hell's hot, I put the flames on it. I miss my dad, I could care less about riches. I just want the adoration that he never had. Bitch, I'm from Maryland, we need a new flag. With pics of dope needles, obeying some crabs. We used to say no selling out, but now that we older as fuck it, let's get a bag. Fuck tech, who's forever? I hope we can stab. The country is bleeding, the cut isn't healing. At some point you gotta just peel off the scab. Cocaine and vodka cause I'm always sad. Bro, I'm so broke, me and money play tag. I can't catch it, so I'm stressing. And that's why these Newports, they getting dragged. I'm dying. And everything is upside down.
Welcome to the next movement, Brian Ennals and Infinity Knives.
You.
Really excited to talk to the two of you, particularly about this album that you got out that came out in June called King Cobra.
Yes.
It's an album that I think immediately connected for E and I. So let's just jump right in. I think it's safe to say that the sound you guys have crafted, specifically the production that Infinity Knives brings, is one of the most unique in our time in modern hip hop. Could you talk a little bit about, Brian, about what sort of draws you to the sonicscapes that Knives crafts, and how that might work with your like writing style?
What draws me to it is because it's so fucking out there. I'd be bored, guys, and we'll send you a beat pack and it's like, 10 trap joints or 10 boom bap joints. With Knives' production, I have to figure out a very specific way to approach the beat. It's clinical in that way. And a lot of times as a producer, because he's more than just a beat maker, he gives me a specific bounce or a line to run with or like a flow. So our whole goal is really to just make this sound like definitely not nothing now and hopefully nothing like what you ever really heard. That was very conscious.
Yeah, the sound is definitely one of the things that makes this such an amazing album for me. But also because of how it's constructed. So I'm reading Octavia Butler's Parable series right now, right? So this album
is this your first time reading it?
Yeah, so I'm on Parable of the Talent. So I'm not finished yet, so no spoiler alerts.
No spoilers. Yeah.
No spoiler alerts. But this album is really relevant for me because when I listen to King Cobra, it feels like I have access to your diary. One that's giving a firsthand account of what life has been like in an apocalyptic world, right? It's in real time, but you're also providing a lot of historical facts that help explain how we got here and why we continue to experience the horrific things that we do. So with all that said, for me, King Cobra is like a survival kit. It's a tool that's helping to guide us through all this craziness. And I'm wondering if you looked at the album this way and if it served as an outlet for you.
I mean, 100%. To answer the second question first, 100% outlet. One thing, everybody, if you're creative, create how you want. There's obviously no definitions to what you have to do or talk about. But I just felt it bizarre with everything that's going on in the world, that has been the 5 or 6 years, that it's just not being addressed more within hip hop or even within alternative rock or any other genres. So we really felt an urge to speak to it and speak about it, and not directly to get like too on the nose and be like, this is a fuck Donald Trump, fuck MAGA song. But we wanted to capture kind of this darkness that I think we all kind of feel right now. A sense of hopelessness in a way. We always call this like the Empire Strikes Back one. Ryan was kind of like Star Wars, and this is the one where, Luke gets his hand cut off and you don't know if they're going to make it in the end. Because it's just somebody had to speak to it. And I kept getting worried. I told Gary Sorvas this, like when a major artist would drop, like Kendrick or J. Cole or whoever, I'm like, these guys are going to take our thunder because they're going to address these things that people seem to be avoiding. And then they just, go further up their own assholes, which is good for us. Probably bad for the genre as a whole. But Parable of the Sower was definitely in my mind, consciously and subconsciously, while writing this album. I think it's scarily accurate to what we're going through right now. The elimination of the middle class, that thin tightrope that we kind of seem to be walking. We're not really far from that.
Yeah, the parallels between, the books and this album was just right there for me. So yeah, it's scary because it's so relevant to, the world right now and how we're living. And
sure.
And man, like, yeah. So for me, one of the things that I think brings me comfort is like you said, when people address this, because I sort of need to feel like I'm not crazy and I'm not the only one that's seeing this shit,
Yeah.
So I really, King Cobra really does that for me. And I imagine a lot of other people would say the same.
Can I ask you all a question?
For sure.
Yeah.
How did you come across the album?
Rob sent it to me.
Oh, really?
And Zilla Rocca sent it to me.
Got it. Yeah, Zilla. Zilla's a good friend. He's been putting the word out, so shout out to him.
Yeah.
I was just curious. Yeah.
What I also really love about this album is what feels like a relationship between the past, the present, and the future through the album sound. So you have a lot of tracks that give shout outs to music from different eras, and you combine these sounds with ones that could be considered modern day and others that feel really futuristic. Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah, definitely. Everything was very intentional with this record. And Tyreek's coming in now, and he can probably explain further the sonics, but his whole thing was just this album being his homage kind of to music of the 20th century. Not just hip-hop, but also classical. What up, bro?
What up, man?
My camera's acting funny.
Let me tell you something, Brian. Dealing with your incompetency makes me want to drink again. Makes me want to start drinking. and I'm trying to lay off the sauce, man.
You just couldn't find the email?
You kept sending like you sent me like half the emails both times, bro.
Oh man. So what, the text worked, right?
Without the link.
I was testing you. But they were asking about the intentionality, or if it was intentional to like do the old school, the present, and the future. Would you say it was?
I would say, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely like intentional is in the fact that we're making callbacks, but not as a timeline. We didn't do it to make it a timeline, but we did it to be like, oh, that's funny. Like, we fuck with Sir Mix-a-Lot. Let's do some Sir Mix-a-Lot type shit on here, But we actually do we do listen to that shit though.
Yeah.
So like constantly. So it's like it was more of an homage rather than like us being like quirky or sort of kind of like gimmicky about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk Melancholy Boogie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite tracks on the album, and I want to just run down a few of the lyrics real quick. Let's start with "Bitch, I'm from Maryland. We need a new flag." I like when I say lyrics on the show because it's an opportunity for me to sound extra white.
I can't. That you said it, not me.
Yeah. I think I know where this lyric might go, but could you tell me a little bit about Maryland's flag and why they need a new one?
Well, if you know a Marylander, or if you've been to Maryland, like we really love our fucking flag, and it is a dope flag. But it was kind of a joke about that, like the love of the flag, and also just what Maryland is. I mean, obviously you got crabs, which is like an obvious joke, but really a deeper thing about the fucking heroin problem that we've seen a lot of growing up here. That's kind of stretched from Baltimore City and really touched everybody. Which we kind of get into in different parts of the album as well.
Yeah. Fuck Ted Cruz forever. I hope he gets stabbed. I don't really have a question about that. I just like a heavy hell yeah to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's like, I joke about liking like conservative politicians all the time, but I can't even joke about liking him.
Yeah.
He's like so, man, he makes my throat itch.
Yeah, he's like
it's
evil
funny,
incarnate.
I had like the rhyme scheme, and I knew I wanted to stab somebody, and I'm like, yo, who should I put in here? And Tyreek's like, like Ted Cruz, like of course. Like, how did I miss that? Of course.
Yeah, like immediately.
Immediately. That was his first. He jumped right to it.
I love it. It works.
He is the fucking worst, man. Lying Ted.
Yeah. Last lyric that I want to bring up. I feel like we could talk about this song a lot, but and I know E wants to talk about it. But last lyric I want to highlight. I don't know what's happening. I just know we ain't winning. The Orioles suck. They won't win a pennant. I'm just wondering if you'd like to retract that statement at this point in time.
No, because they lost like 14-4 the other night. I think
they did get blown out by the Red Sox. That's true.
It's funny. We did a show in early August, I want to say, and I
It was July. It was July. It's
mid-July, and I switched the line like on stage. And I was like, "The Orioles don't suck. We might win the pennant." But now it's seeming prophetic again, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Damn.
But the reference to "we ain't winning" was just Black America in general.
Right.
You know, me and Tyreek always talk about the fact that, you know, the transatlantic slave trade, not to get too heavy, we never frame it as, you know, a war. You know, when you kidnap people and bring them over, you know, that's making prisoners, you know, it's a war. So that's what we're not winning.
Right.
You know? So that was a reference to that.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
We have an earlier song called The Black Power Paradox, which is a deeper dive into that line, where it's basically like, you know, it's Black Power, but there's also like a paradoxical sort of element to it. And it's not necessarily like like a lost thing, but it's also like sort of, you know, there's a lot of dark shit to come to terms with, you know, and there's no really true liberation without like some, you know, there's no like incremental liberation as far as I'm concerned. You feel me?
Yeah.
So that's essentially my take on it. And our conversations always lead up to that, you know, where the Black Power Paradox sort of, that's where that comes from. Because, you know, you're raising your fist, but at the same time, like, you know, we got to do a little bit more than that, you know? You know, I'm not hinting anything, FBI, don't. You know, I'm lazy as shit.
I'm not in a group with this man.
Yeah, but that's what just to give a deeper context to that, just because it said Brian left it so bleak. He was like, yeah, everything sucks, we lost. You know, but it's like, come on, man, you know.
I have a question about what you were saying further down the road in this conversation, but I wanted to talk about something with Melancholy Boogie. So there's a lot of songs like this in the world, right? That like sound really upbeat, but they're really digging into some heavy shit. But I think the difference here is like, the approach is more intentional. I mean, you're really addressing that. So what came to mind for me when I first heard this song is how we minimize or completely ignore all the tragic things that are happening in the world and just sort of carry on as if nothing is happening, right? So like COVID is an example of this. Like we're just sort of dancing to the beat, not listening to the lyrics. And sometimes that feels like it's done out of ignorance, but other times it feels like it's intentional because it's how some of us survive. So I sort of already asked the question in regards to whether or not your music is an outlet for you, but I wondered also if it's a form of escapism. Do you, and when you're creating music, do you do that to escape?
I would say no. I think I try to kind of embrace that, for lack of a better term, like that darkness. I think the music is where I force myself to kind of consciously think about that type of shit. Because we all have to kind of skim over in our daily lives just to like maintain sanity.
Yeah.
And the music's where I get to like dive in and deal with that, you know, that hurtful, harmful, violent shit in a way that, you know, I can express it to other people too. And I think that's what's cathartic about it, is being able to have other people hear it.
Yeah.
That's true, because Brian avoids everything. He's had the same like coffee cup in the backseat of his car for like 3 years since I've known him. He definitely avoids all his problems, and then he just raps about him later on.
Definitely.
So it's the total opposite. Yeah.
Which is why I appreciate having Brian as a compatriot, because I feel like that sort of keeps a balance between, you know, because I tend to be sort of like floaty and, you know, at least instrumentally, and he sort of you know, kind of anchors that a little bit, so it doesn't become for sure. Like a serious movie with like magical realism, I suppose, you know, with some like some Guillermo del Toro, you know, you know, where it's some really serious shit, but you have like little bell chimes and my little, you know, violins, which is Guillermo del Toro. Shout out to Guillermo del Toro. We that line, I'm dying is actually from his movie Chronos. Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Wow.
It's a quote from that movie.
I wanted to talk about the Badger quickly, just because when I heard this song, to me it sounded really, really personal. And I mean, I think a lot of this is, sounds personal, but that one in particular.
I'ma kill my landlord, so I got a heater. Specifically, a nigga got a 9mm. If he don't believe in God, I'ma make him a believer. He will have no choice, cause he really about to meet her. So yo, 6 weeks ago, I'm getting evicted. Beg my landlord to help a nigga. Said he couldn't risk it in the streets. Been out here for weeks, shitting where I sleep. Ain't got shit to eat. Bro, this homeless shit is beat. Rewind, 2 months ago, I lost my job. Was living check to check, but check to check is getting robbed. Home of the free, land of the underpaid. Basically, had a closet off a minimum wage. Now I don't even have that, but I know where he's at. I'm shooting him, probably his family, and maybe the cat. Last year, shorty, she left the state with my son. This is America, so I spent my last on a gun. Yo, shout out to sex workers, trans lives matter, house the unhoused, black power. I don't give a fuck who just became a billionaire. I don't give a fuck if they black. You better off telling me who just dropped the deuce or who's in the stepsister porn. I don't give a fuck, nigga.
It sounded like it was inspired by true events. I mean, I wondered if you could speak to that, Brian. Is that correct?
From my perspective, surprisingly, no.
Okay.
To me,
Brian is a homeowner. It's me. It's more about me.
Yeah, it was definitely.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. As far as the personal part, because Tyreek gave me the the bounce and the thesis for that song, which is the first couple bars of the second verse.
Right.
My name's Jim, trying to live under a bridge, lost his wife and kids, and I built a narrative around that part, and my goal was like a cover of Biggie's "Niggas Bleed." I formatted the song exactly like that because it's like my favorite story rap. Life After Death is like my favorite album, almost as like an MC exercise. So you get the first verse is setting up the situation where everybody exists. The second verse, Biggie's talking about Arizona Ron and giving you his background, which is Jim. Yeah. And then the third verse is kind of like the falling act and the climax. So with me, it was very much like a writing exercise. But Tyreek can talk about, what kind of gave him that, and I guess the personal aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, I know a guy named Jim who's actually homeless, who I was like pretty close friends with, but he's not that cool, but he is a cool guy, in his own way. And I was homeless too for a long time, so I had like that sort of anger. Built in. I feel like it still kind of fucks with me a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I said, like Brian and I are the opposites, where music for me is like, grabbing onto like a sense of control and power. And, sort of, you know what I'm saying? Like it's sort of more of a glory, like a victorious thing for me.
Yeah.
So to write that was, to co-write it in a sense, or give Brian the idea for it was sort of a little bit, was kind of my thing more, because I've had to deal with like homelessness and, shitty landlords and and like real true living on the streets type shit. Not, I'm couch surfing, like having, like literally living in a tent, under a bridge and shit, But my life is good.
Yeah.
Now.
See her inside.
But, yeah. I have a giant apartment now.
That's beautiful.
And a nice doggy. Thanks to that Infinity Knives money that I'm playing. Hopefully one day.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I feel like, we're sort of living in times where that can be a lot of people's story, but something about it just sounded really personal. So thanks for.
Oh, it's quick. It like, you don't think it can happen, but it's like unfortunate because it's like I'm of sound mind. I've never really like. It just happens.
Yeah.
So I feel like at least people within most of like 99% of people we know, it can happen to them just a couple mistakes away.
Yeah.
One or two paychecks.
Yeah, right. Seriously. But yeah, I think that's where it being personal came from. It's just like we're not that much different from staying outside.
Right.
Yeah, I think that one or two paychecks thing is like true for most of America, a good chunk of America, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I love this song. What I love about it, one of the things I love about it is just the like bubbling, overflowing anger that makes its way into the hook, which is, Brian's going off about shit that really is not necessarily connected to the landlord of being homeless.
That was personal to me.
Yeah.
I really feel that strongly about people like posing next to cars.
No, he was actually like in a bad mood when we wrote that too. He like wanted to get out of the studio, like quick. Yeah. He was like he was in a terrible mood. It was cold as shit outside, and it was like the last couple days of recording. I was about to say filming, recording King Cobra, and we were all just in a bad mood. So when he started saying that shit, I just thought it was like hilarious. He was just rambling. I don't think it was even supposed to be in the song, right, Brian?
Yeah,
like,
we kind of did it as like a gag. And,
yeah.
The engineer that was recording it, our boy Griff, was like, "Now you should keep that in."
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did. It brings it brings some humor into a rather heavy subject. So
yeah,
that's kind of what we that's we always, shit's dark. The album's dark, but there's like a sophomoric kind of humor overlapping the whole thing too, and that's kind of just me and Tyreek's personalities.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Death of a Constable.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. When I heard that line about supporting the riots at the Capitol and how those folks had the right idea but the wrong motivation, it literally stopped me in my tracks. So I was outside gardening, pulling weeds, listening to this, and I literally stopped and I was like, huh. And the person that immediately came to mind for me was Fred Hampton, right? Because we know a large part of his work focused on educating and connecting with white folks from working class families because they also experience poverty, inadequate education, substandard housing, etc. So I feel like that's what you're getting at in this song, and you sum it up when you say, "Look closer, and we can show you the enemy." So I wondered if you were channeling this part of history when you wrote these lyrics.
Yeah, I would say 100%. I mean, it's also how I feel personally, because after the attack on the Capitol, I just saw tweets and online with people that were supposedly progressives and being like, how could they do this to the Capitol? I'm like, fuck the Capitol, burn it down. I don't agree with why they're doing it, but thank God somebody had the balls to do something.
I don't know this man. I don't know. I'm not advocating for anything.
The problem with politicians now is that they're not scared of the people.
Yeah.
In 17th century France, you would fuck around and get guillotined if you fuck people over too much or anything. Revolution would happen, and they've got us to a complacent state where we're defending these symbols and we don't even really realize it. So, and to tie it into Fred Hampton, I think that's obviously the key. They killed him when he was reaching out to Klan members. They killed Malcolm when he came back and realized that blue-eyed, blonde-haired people could be part of the movement. They killed Martin Luther King when he started talking about the economic consequences of a lot of things. When you start to reach out across the aisle like that, that's when they get nervous, because we all have the same enemy.
That's right.
The greatest trick the devil pulled was convincing poor white people that being white's more important than not getting fucked over.
Yeah.
I want to play this song for so many people that I don't personally know, but so many people that I've heard talk, namely about Trump, and just be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you fucking doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's I don't know if it shattered an illusion of something, but it's this Trump is literally America. I don't what do you know what I'm saying? He didn't just come out. I don't know. I think my beef a lot of it, and I try not to be that sort of dude who shits on I mean, you gotta shit on liberals hard. You know what I mean? Because it's just this I don't know what that weird dream that you thought America was that recently got shattered.
Right.
But it's that's always been a fucking thing. You know what I mean? If anything, Trump's just more honest about it, about being an imperialist piece of shit. It's funny, actually, we were going to name the song Hang Mike Pence, but because that's what they were chanting at the...
Shit.
That was the outro first, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was. It was instead of fuck 12, it was Hang Mike Pence.
Oh, wow.
But,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I didn't say it. They said it. I was just, I'm a reporter.
Yeah,
I'm a journalist.
yeah. This is a live account. Yeah. Tell you.
Well, this is sort of leading me to something I was planning to ask at some point, just about like the boldness of this album. Brian, you really don't pull any punches. You're not holding back lyrically. And I'm wondering if you've received any negativity in response for lines like, like what we're talking about the Capitol, or referencing shooting Joe Biden and other places in the album. Have you received like any blowback from that?
You know what? Not yet. Because I think it's at the album still at a certain point where the people that are hearing it are going to be like aligned with those views. If it expands more, like, I'm sure that would probably be coming. But I don't know. It's some of it's shocking and some of that's intentional. But the reason there's also not blowback is I think I'm touching like fundamental truths that like we all kind of know. Yeah. Regardless of like what side of the aisle you kind of stand on. Things are kind of fucked regardless of who's responsible. Like we should do something or at least talk about it. Yeah. But, I haven't been fired yet from my job. So.
All right. Good. Glad to hear that.
Yeah. I'm going to sue and hopefully they do fire me. So,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, like ultimately going back to all of this is like, it's hard for me to explain without sounding, kind of hippy dippy, but like we all essentially want the same thing. We want, most of us, I mean, there's definitely some pieces of shit, but there's like a weird way that everybody talks to each other where it seems like we're disagreeing. Like most of us want to be healthy and we want other people to be healthy and happy, essentially, and I think we sort of, especially Brian sort of touches on that sort of anger that, but not in a moderate sense. Does that make sense? He's not like, well, I see things from the middle. It's more, but it's just like the discourse is so muddled and, vitriolic that it's just like, we can't villainize other working class people as much as, the fucking rednecks are sometimes like, I mean, a lot of the time straight up dickheads, assholes, you know what I mean? But like, at the end of the day, on a fundamental level, we want the same shit. I mean, these people are complaining about big pharma. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, in a weird way. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
it's like, yeah, we fucking hate big pharma. Like, we all do. That's an issue. But you're also capping for capitalism. So it's like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So going back to what Brian was saying, like we touch on a lot of shit that I feel like a lot of people can sort of agree with. And if they don't, they can suck my dick. It's like,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, you are. I mean, we're talking about the anger that comes through on the album, but I want to talk about the instrumental pieces on this project. They've really impacted me when I consider the project as a whole in the context in which it was created. I think this is a truly great like pandemic era album, but the instrumental pieces for me give space for some of the grief and sadness and despair that I think everyone has felt at some point over the last couple of years. And they kind of humanize the two of you. They kind of make you more complete. Was that in any way the intention when you were adding them or creating them?
No,
100%.
Yeah, without it. And you actually nailed it. Very few people do, because people just see them as interludes. Like every time we get write-ups, it's like these interludes are way too long.
I'm so glad you didn't call them interludes. He would have went on.
Man. I bitch about it every day to Brian. I'm like, how is it a 4-minute interlude? It's like a whole song you have a whole person singing on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, for the instrumental parts, I guess we're talking about. But that's definitely a very vulnerable, and like a lot of them I left pretty sparse. They're like very sparse and bare for that reason specifically. Because a lot of my shit tends to be like, I tend to be a maximalist with my compositions a lot of the times, but on this record, I kept it moderately bare, just to keep it open and, have a breather in between those really angry songs. It sort of punctuates the record, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Like all those records with the rapping, I think, back to back to back to back, it would have been kind of numbing in a sense. You wouldn't have time to kind of reflect on what you just heard. And that's why we say, obviously everybody's busy. We appreciate anybody listening, but if you can listen to it from like front to back, that's definitely the way it was designed. Kind of like Fear of a Black Planet, Takes a Nation of Millions. I was listening to a lot of like Chuck D and Ice Cube while like writing. So that's, I think, where a lot of the anger came from too.
It's a balance, like we were talking about before, and like Rob mentioned, it humanizes you. We can be angry a lot of the times, but there's also going to be times where you're breaking down.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you have to sort of sit with the sadness. Yeah.
That's me most of the time.
Yeah.
I feel that. Yeah. 1,000%. I feel that.
Like, God damn it. I have to see Brian's ugly face every day,
It's like, what do they say? The depression is rage turned inward.
Yeah. The Sopranos.
Yeah. That's Sopranos quote. Yeah. So you can't really have one without the other, without the come down.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So back to the frustration. One thing I really appreciate about this album is a lack of hesitation you all have when you're calling folks out. And I'm not just talking about the cops or the government. You're also holding your community and society accountable. I'm thinking of one line in particular from Head Clean. You don't want revolution, you want a Tesla. And this is something that I've struggled with, hearing folks talk the talk, but not seeing them walk the walk. We want change, but we don't do a damn thing to change ourselves.
Right.
Really frustrating. And so I know a lot of this is sort of an outlet for you in terms of getting out your frustration, but I'm wondering if you all sort of see this as part of a larger conversation. And do you think this is sort of you putting forth an effort in helping to change the narrative?
Yeah, we said when Rhino dropped that we may not be like revolutionaries or activists. We're artists. Our hands are soft. But we want to be the music that those people are playing. You know what I'm saying? So it's very much, I mean, we do kind of want to be in the conversation because I think we both believe that it's not a requirement to make great music, just to be political or to speak to the times. You can do whatever you need to do, but we feel like it's needed, and that's
also towards us, though. It's not.
We're speaking to ourselves too.
Yeah, a lot of it is us talking to ourselves. Yeah, I mean, because sometimes I just like money. Sometimes I have these sort of like, and I mean like to an obscene level. You know what I mean? And a lot of the times we say to ourselves like, if we were Elon Musk, for example, one day I became Elon Musk, would I feel the same way? Or is it a pang, or is it that, or if I woke up white, you know what I mean? Thank God I just did my DNA test. No European, but no offense, Rob.
I'm cool.
That's cool. So a lot of it is like very introspective. That you don't want revolution, you want a Tesla is not necessarily very accusatory for anybody.
Sure.
It's an all, if the shoe fits, but right. Because I want a fucking Tesla.
And at the day,
they are fucking nice.
Yeah, come on now.
Get a Tesla, but like you can't do the other thing too. It's like playing the center, like we were talking about. Like you gotta kind of choose a side. I know, Jay-Z got roasted on Twitter a couple weeks ago.
What did he do?
Like,
I don't remember that.
So Jay-Z is a capitalist, and so got pissed off because people were like, well, and they were like saying that, and he more or less said that, alluded to the fact that word was created to sort of discourage Black folks.
Oh, I remember that.
From participate from basically like, trying to aspire to wealth. And sort of almost likened it to a racial slur. So it was this whole fucking thing.
Yeah, don't make fun of my money.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
That's basically, it's funny because I mean he's honest, but I have uncles on Facebook who do that, but they're broke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, come on now. It's like all about that hustle culture and shit, and it's just kind of like, oh, this person became the first black billionaire, and like, you're like, yeah, that does nothing for me.
Exactly.
Then, you know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
That does literally nothing. But like, and I was just like, yeah, I wouldn't like that. But really, like, what the fuck is? It's like, what does that inspire me to do? Like, throw a brick through a window?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Jay-Z has more merit to saying it than my uncles for sure.
You got the money to back it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, you just started driving for Uber, man. You're not Jay-Z.
Oh, damn it.
Like, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing,
the
Uber driver is much more. It's like, we need the Uber driver in society. We don't fucking need Jay-Z. Brian might disagree.
Right.
That's his dad, but like,
Yeah, pre-Kingdom Come Jay-Z, we definitely need it. Yeah.
Well, speaking of your peers in the industry, I think a large part of the folks included in this conversation around accountability, are these people, fellow rappers, fellow artists. You're calling folks out for sexual assault, for selling out, for respectability, politics, lack of creativity where it concerns the craft, etc. So I'm wondering if you feel a sense of responsibility to address these things that are happening within a culture, and do you also expect folks to hold you accountable in the same way?
100% to both of those.
Yeah, I do. And that's why a lot of people, I'm not going to name names, but we've made some enemies for sure for that, even before King Cobra. Yeah.
And that's okay, because you don't want to be friends with some of these people. And I'm not going to name names, but yeah, there has been the the sexual assault stuff, which happened a little bit in our local music scene.
It was like kind of rampant a little bit,
rampant.
Yeah.
And I expect people to hold me accountable, but what I also know is that while nobody's perfect, I'm not doing that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not
right.
I'm damn sure that's not going to happen. And it's not you being treated unfairly or being canceled. Like, you fucked up.
Right.
And those chickens always come home to roost in some way. And rap music is about, if you think another motherfucker's whack, you gotta let them know. You throw PM Dawn off the stage, or you say you don't like Jay-Z's albums. If you're Nas, you have to. That's part of the competitive nature, and that's part of what pushes the creativity forward. Puff inventing the player hater kind of made it uncool to critique someone's like lack of skill, and I like a lot of rap music where skill isn't involved, but to act like that's not an important component, we lose something there.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I mean, sometimes it gets a little hectic because, it's like it's kind of a cutthroat game. And the more you're in it, the more it just gets you get a little road weary. But then sometimes you're energized and ready to sort of go out and fight, The sense of bravado to it is like none other. Because I've been in punk bands, we didn't do that. You know what I mean? I'm a producer. I don't beef with other producers. Like, yo, fuck you. You don't know how to use a compressor. Your distortion game is weak. So, but yeah, no, but it does get exhausting a lot of the times. You know what I mean? Because people have big egos, me included, and to get that hurt. But then also at the same time, you sort of use that anger to just push yourself and make shit that you've never heard before.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is what I constantly hope to kind of keep on doing.
That's the end goal, is like just to always make some shit people haven't heard, or at least try to.
It's like
this hair metal phase that we've been stuck in with like rap for like the past couple of years. I like a lot of this shit, but I just can't imagine hearing somebody's record and being like, well, let me make a record that sounds just like that. Like, I watch Say Cheese and everybody sounds like Rod Wave, and it's just like,
or Pop Smoke
or whoever. I don't know. Do better, everybody.
No, for sure. I mean, I love that kind of shit, but like, it's like, what's the point of making music? I guess some people want to do it as a means to an end, not necessarily for the music, but it's I have a little bit of integrity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know if Monsanto asked me to make a beat though. I'd sell out. Monsanto or like General Electric. I'd be like, here's a trap beat, man.
Yeah, Jack Harlow wants me to like write the next album. I don't know.
Oh man,
what's he paying? But
yeah.
Yeah.
I will make Ben Carson look like Marcus Garvey. How about that?
Holy shit!
Gifted Hands, the album.
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
Oh,
I'm playing.
man.
But am I?
You never know.
Everybody's got a price.
Yeah. No, I mean, ultimately what I'm saying is like, I don't want to come off as holier than thou because none of us are above propaganda. None of us are above capitalist sort of inclinations.
Sure.
We're American.
Right. That's how we've been conditioned. Right.
And when I say these things in jest, there's a little bit of truth to them because it's kind of an existentialist thing to me. Because if I wasn't homeless, would I care so much about homeless people and sex workers and shit like that? If I wasn't African, would I care for the Black Power struggle? So I don't know because sometimes I'm fucking lazy, man. Like for real, sometimes I just want to sit in bed and do nothing. I get like apathy, and it's just easier for me to just worry about myself.
Sure.
I just don't want to be phony about it.
Yeah, that's real.
Right.
Just to be real there for a second.
I thought I remember reading somewhere that King Cobra almost didn't get released, but then I couldn't find where I read that.
That's true.
When I was doing the research. Did I make that up? Or
no,
was that
you're 100% correct. We heard it. We drove around smoking cigarettes. Actually, we went to a diner. We listened to it in full. And then like Brian and I were like, oh yeah, it's good. And then we went home and we were like, this fucking sucks so
terrible.
bad.
Yeah.
We didn't like speak to each other for a while.
It was like a week and then we're like, fuck it. But
we had to release it eventually. But like, I don't know. Maybe because we were focusing so hard as micro that we didn't see the macro of it.
Right.
And mine coming from a technical standpoint where like, oh man, the kick sounds like shit. It's little shit like that sort of stacks up,
Yeah. Or I'd hear something and be like, man, I could have done a better take. Like the little shit.
Right, exactly. Kendrick was releasing an album. And he tends to sort of get like I don't know. It's just like we were like
we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah. I'm more hard on Brian though. I love myself. I gotta keep a watch on him. He doesn't like to work.
Do not.
It sounds like you're too close to it. Too close to
it.
it.
And that's what it is too. Like we worked on King Cobra from like beginning to end, from the initial inception to what it wound up being. Probably like like a year and a half.
Yeah.
We did
most of that was planning.
Yeah, we only did probably like a total of maybe 4 or 5 studio sessions.
Yeah.
And we did a big one after we got a lot of writing and production done in like June or July 2021. We left with like 7 joints. And other than Melancholy Boogie, we like scrapped all those and kind of went back and rewrote and redid things. There were completely different verses on some tracks. A lot of joints left off. But we don't create in the studio. We do a lot of planning, conceptualizing,
sending demos
notes,
back and forth.
Yeah, and then we just get in and try to knock that out.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I think that was also another thing is the battle plan was constantly, we had to sort of, because I tried not to record it in my house this time just because I wanted so I hired a studio, or actually a couple. And when you're in the studio, the heat's on. Because it's on a rate, you get hungry in there. So like when you're in there, you try to fucking nail it as fast as you can. And it would get stressful, because for example, Brian has a kid and we couldn't go to a studio for another month. And then we have this bunk take, so I just sit there trying to sort of fix it on my own. So we don't have to go back, just little small details like that. But there was some things that we definitely flipped. I mean, we did Melancholy Boogie so many times, and finally we were both happy with the last result. So I don't know. It drained the fuck out of me though. This record, holy shit! Like, you know, just I don't think I've talked about that ever on any of my interviews, at least in depth. But like, I still can't touch an instrument. You know,
Really?
I just played. Yeah, I just played a show. I played with my old band, and because I'm in like a sort of like a jazz band, and you know, they were talking about making new music again, and I just was like, I like literally have nothing. You know,
Wow.
and, you know, well, hopefully I get it back. But yeah, it's been tough. It's been real tough, just because of it just took so much brain power. You know, not to be a complainer or anything, but it was fucking whack. You know, the pain was real.
Well, we are grateful. We're reaping the benefits. I read the article that came out in Baltimore Beat, and I wondered what it was like for the two of you to have your music and this album so closely compared to Ornette Coleman, and also what it was like to be so positively received by a local news outlet.
That was wild. That was a little crazy to me. Yeah, because I was in every coffee shop. We were the front page of this paper, which is like a really big paper here.
Yeah, the circulation's like crazy. It felt like validation, because for a while, as far as the local rap scene in Baltimore goes, like that kind of art rap scene we were kind of in a way like on the outskirts of it, for a variety of reasons, namely because we talked about some of the people that were involved in it, our issues with that, etc.
Yeah,
and we also, there's some people that we reached out to work that just wouldn't get back with us, so like the bitterness built up and like the ego, and the rapper part of us and the hip hop producer part of us was like, but we're better than these motherfuckers. So then when we get the article, and that article, and there was the Baltimore Banner article that, called it like an art rap classic, just felt vindicating. Like, yeah, we knew it. And I think we can do better, and we still hear stuff wrong with the album, but we're trying to just soak in the
I'm trying to apply for those grants, because I really need to hire, like, my dream is to really just hire an orchestra. And I've played, Brian has performed with my music has been transposed for a live, like 16-piece orchestra. Brian performed, but I want to do that for the next record for sure, because I'm a composer by trade, and so applying for grants, really just even pushing harder than we did this time, going in there and like having a battle plan, and if the battle plan doesn't work out, having even written down, because I have a whole notebook. I have notebooks filled with notes, but what I didn't do on the last notes is write plans that would happen if one plan fell through, so I'd like to go in this time with the budget, with these sort of plans, see what I did wrong last time, and sort of trim the fat, so I'm not using up too much energy on certain things that I've learning from my mistakes, basically. It's funny because I'm a messy ass person, but when it comes to this shit, it's like I'm very like Rain Man, like
I'm Tom Cruise, just like walking him to the airport so he doesn't freak out and shit. So
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Stankonia.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Islam national underground thunder bounce when I stop the ground like a million elephants, a silverback orangutan. You can't stop a train. Who wants some? Don't come unprepared. I'll be there, but when I leave there, better be a household name. Weatherman telling us it ain't gonna rain, so now we sitting in a drop top soaking wet in a silk suit, trying not to sweat. Hit somersaults without the net, but this be the year that we won't forget. 1999. And I don't need anything gold. Be what you wanna be, long as you know consequences are given for living the fences. Too hot to jump in jail, too low to dig. I might just touch hell. Hot, get a life now they on sale. Then I might catch you a spell. Look at what came in the mail. I'm scared as some arm and hammer. So go grill and a baby mama. Black hair lack in a back of pampers. Stack of questions with no answers. Cure for cancer, cure for AIDS. Make a nigga wanna stay on tour for days. Get back home, things are wrong. When not really, it was bad all along. Before you left ass up to a ball of power. Thoughts at 1,000 miles per hour. Hello ghetto, let your brain breathe. Believe there's always more.
Every episode, we ask our guests to choose a personal classic or a record that's been especially influential on them. Tonight, we're talking about Outkast, and we're talking about Stankonia. So, pose the question to the two of you. Why Stankonia? Why are we talking about this record?
I remember, I think it was like Halloween 2000 when this dropped. On that date, Dynasty dropped that day too. So I was one of those kids that, every Tuesday went to Best Buy, got the new albums. And I sat with Stankonia and the lyrics were in the liner notebook, and it just it blew me away in ways that are hard to even really wrap my mind around now. I remember buying the Bombs Over Baghdad single on vinyl and listening to the song, then listening to the acapella, then listening to the beat, and then listening to the song again. I say all that to say Rolling Stone did a 200 greatest albums list a couple months ago. And some of it wasn't that bad, and some of it was kind of clickbaity. But the one thing I think they got right was they had Stankonia as the number 2 rap album of all time, and I would put it at number. And I would put it at number 2 as well. I know some people thought it was a little. Supposedly, there's a version of it that Double XL reviewed that's less overproduced. It's more minimalist with no skits that I've never heard. But
this is the first time I've heard about this.
Man. Yeah. So it was like a 13-track joint, but I think it's expansive. I have this theory that when this dropped with Dynasty, it was like a moment in time where hip hop could have gone in like one or two directions. Either they hear Stankonia and the artists challenge themselves further, they could like take on that challenge of being futuristic and being political and being funny, or you just make like this cookie cutter rap, which is serviceable, but it's kind of like one size fit all, like Dynasty.
What they call it again, cell phone rap became a thing shortly afterwards.
And we're in the timeline where everybody decides.
It's a cat.
Dynasty. But I just think it's I don't know if it's perfect, but it's damn close, I think. Yeah. And I think the skits work, which is rare for a late 90s rap album.
Yeah.
And it's the best rapping I think that both of them did.
Oh man, they were bodying on that record, man. That's like, to me, that's my number one. That's the number one rap album of all time. I think because they did it so well. Because me and Brian, we get called art rap all the time, which is cool, but they made an art rap record and not once got called an art rap record. It was like, because like the streets even was listening to it. You know what I mean? It wasn't just, I don't know. They oh man, I could cry talk about how good that record is. Like Toiletisha is that song. Oh man, it's like I try to get every synth, even on King Cobra, to be as bold as Toiletisha synth, because it's so crusty and distorted and bold. It's like right in the front. But
it's the only time spoken word poetry has been good.
No, seriously, like
joking. Spoken word's great.
Afghan Wigs is pretty good. There's a band called Afghan Wigs that kind of does spoken word stuff.
But before you guys give me a take, the last thing I wanted to say is just the Miss Jackson. Oh no, you're good. Miss Jackson going into snapping and trapping. Like that dichotomy. It's still to this day, like in it makes sense. It's not jarring. It doesn't feel like two different worldviews. It's their Atlanta, which is like the year 3000, but also like 1999 too.
Yeah, it's a very psychedelic experience. And I don't mean to say that in the like, well, this is trippy, man. But in the sense that it's very kaleidoscopic in its patchworks. It's a patchwork, but it's still very symmetrical in the same way. Does that make sense? Like it's like it does, like it bleeds into each other very nicely. God, what a good fucking record, man.
I can't imagine you're talking about the album without the skits. I can't imagine that. The skits make this album for me.
100%.
Like
that's Atlanta. Yeah.
You're talking about tracks bleeding into each other. The skits really hype you up for the track that's about to come on, especially that break. Like it's so fucking good. It's so good, and they're fucking hilarious. Hilarious.
Stay off that blow.
Yeah, right.
Girl, that's just Hawaiian silk.
Right.
There's another one where it starts with like this really cool trumpet riff that's so good, and I wish they continued it. It goes, I think it's Cookie and Kim. I'm like, yo, because they did that in Spotty Odie too, that crazy like weird like brass line. And they just like kind of left it there. I don't know, whoever's writing those brass lines for Outkast though, shout out to you, my man. But Kim and Cookie, Shout out to them too.
Hilarious. It's just hilarious.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Harder than a nigga trying to impress God.
Yo, come on, man.
Like what?
Yo, what? Oh man, that shit makes me so like. I used to have a CD player, and my mom used to go to church all the time, and I used to actually like it for the music. But once the music, went off for the beautiful gospel music, blah blah blah. But once I got off, it's just a whole lot of nothing to me. Still is. But I found these fucking beanies that had headphones in them. So in the winter, I would fucking put that shit on, and I would just have Outkast on because it's a CD player. You know what I'm saying? You're there for 3-4 hours. So I'm just sitting there like. My mom's like, he's really feeling Jesus today.
And you were listening to I'll Call Before I Come.
Yo, yeah. You really want to know about some gangster shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man,
yeah.
I feel like this album is like, I mean, we kind of touched on this, but to me, it's like a perfect snapshot of both Big Boy and Andre.
Yeah,
like you got the psychedelic sound, but they still had organized noise doing their thing. So you get so fresh and so clean, and you get Bombs Over Baghdad, which to me is like Dre and Big Boy.
Right, and not so cut and dry like Speaker Box. Right. It was more melded together, which that's man. You get like different camps of Outkast people, but people are just wrong. You're just objectively wrong. Yeah. I don't know. That album means so fucking much to me. Like for real. Like I listened to it and like it could have come out today.
I definitely think it could come out today for sure.
Yeah, like and it's not even because people are doing what they're doing. Because there's some things like you listen to it and then it's like, oh, this is I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to go back to that like, that boom bap shit. But for them it's just like, oh, this could have come out today and you would still say it's Outkast. You know?
Sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's a very, very hard thing to pull off because you don't have hindsight when you're making it.
I think it's definitely where they established themselves, to me at least, like objectively, as the greatest rap group of all time.
Oh man,
I don't think there's much argument there. It's the closest thing hip hop's ever made to the Beatles. There's a lot of parallels there as well.
Yeah.
Bride loves the Beatles.
I love the Beatles too. Yeah.
Me too.
The Rubber Soul Revolver Sgt. Pepper run reminds me of like AT-Aliens, Equipment High, and Stankonia. And I love AT-Aliens. A lot of people, AT-Aliens is their favorite.
Yeah.
It's a little muted as far as their production. Like it gets a little dreary, a little same soundy, even though it's great. Equipment High is obviously amazing.
Yeah.
I don't have anything bad to say about Equipment High, but Stankonia is just, it's pop. It's hard as fuck. It's really black.
I mean, like as fuck.
As fuck.
Like it's definitely like wow. Like this, like it touches you on like this whole cosmic level, And before I even knew sound production or anything like that, it would confuse me. And as I learned sound production and stuff, it confuses me even more because it shouldn't be able to work. You know what I mean? And they weren't doing, they were just like, there's clear influences like, P-Funk and all that shit. But like the way they did it is just like, I don't know, man, I don't it's a great fucking record.
Yeah.
Record, man. It was like made me feel cool to be a black art kid. Especially at the time when people were like listening to Boosie and because Lil Webby, all those dudes growing up, and that was like, these dudes from the same part of the country, like the South, and they were just as hard, but they were more like I would dress more like Andre.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Very, very few people maybe feel that way. I mean, another person's MF Doom, but like, he's still a nerd though. Niggas aren't really like, my cousins aren't listening to MF Doom. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But my cousins were listening to Outkast when it came out. And like my cousins were like, much more cooler and were gangbanging type dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's such an important point. 3 Stacks really made it okay for you to be black and different.
100%.
I really resonated with that because I got made fun of a lot for like branching out and listening to different music, and what people don't realize is that Black people influence every fucking genre of music. But
oh yeah,
that's another conversation. But he just really made me feel comfortable in my own skin. And I mean, now I think it's more accepted to be a Black nerd and
oh
to
yeah, but
a lot of
back
that's
in the
him,
day,
back
yeah.
then, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Like, cause it was like super masculine.
Mhm.
You know, but it's just like, whoa, that's like, here's a guy, and nobody's dissing him. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
No,
except for
no one.
except for East Coast people, but you know, what were they making back then? You know, some trash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you got this like flamboyant dude who's coming in there and just like, he's nice on the mic. He's making like crazy allegories and all this shit. Like, what?
Yeah.
You know, it really makes you feel powerful when
does.
you don't have a lot of power.
Yeah.
It does.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially growing up kind of, you know, poor and Black, you know, it's just like, whoa. You know, poor, Black, and weird. Man, come on. Get the fuck out of here, man. Anyway, enough of me gushing.
I definitely remember feeling like these guys could do anything.
Anything.
I saw them live a couple times around the time this album came out. One was at a free show at the University of Maryland. And
oh, shit.
You went to College Park?
I didn't go to the University of Maryland, but I was there for some reason for that show. And he was, you know, Andre was wearing his furry moon boots, and they had male backup dancers that looked like linebackers, and they were incredible. They might have had a live band for that show too. I would just remember being like, these guys are rock stars. Like they could do whatever they want.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's crazy you said College Park because they mentioned College Park a couple times. I think they say it in.
Well, they're talking about College Park, Atlanta.
Yeah, no, I used to be like, yo, Maryland. You know, but I was a kid. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's this apparently another College Park full of posers. Yeah.
But yeah. So E and Robert, is this you all's favorite Outkast album or no?
Now you're about to talk some shit. I'm about to log off.
Oh, I'm not at all. You know, I'm really glad you picked this album. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's been years since I listened to it, but man, I jumped right the fuck back in. You know, as soon as I started listening to it, I was like, yes. And I miss this album so much. I think overall, AT Aliens is probably my favorite one.
I get it.
But I love this album so much, especially because what I just talked about, what it did for me. Just like being able to see 3 Stacks be this sort of role model for me. Someone who was different and somebody who, like you said, didn't really get a lot of shit about being different. That was really important for me. And so I think like it goes beyond the music in terms of this album. I also really think this album is really important because you hear this conversation that rappers have now, like, I'm not just an MC, I'm an artist. And I really think Stankonia set that tone for Outkast.
For sure.
They weren't just MCs, they are fucking artists. And this really showed their range. I think they were leading up to this in the projects before, but this really is what did it. After this, people were like, yep.
Yeah, sort of showing off their musical muscles, essentially, you know, their prowess, you know?
Yeah.
Without being like kind of like Eminem now, where he's just rapping really fast and like being like, see, I'm the greatest. But like, they showed what they had on top of artistic merit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, you know, and I'm not downplaying Kanye's sort of involvement in that artist sort of dialogue as well, you know, because, you know, a lot of people, when you think of the artist, not a rapper, you would say Kanye eventually. But they were doing it 7 years before that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I mean, to start an album with Gasoline Dreams.
Man.
Yeah.
Don't fucking play with me, Brian. Don't play with me, man.
you got Cujo Goody on there, and it's just like
Isn't this Sleepy Brown on there? Is that Sleepy Brown?
No, it's Cujo and Big Boy and Andre.
Mm-hmm.
But Andre is just full on singing, you know, about heaven and Crook on the Toll, and Big Boy's talking about L.A. Reid bailing him out of jail, and then Cujo's doing his Goody Mob thing, and then you go into So Fresh So Clean, which might be one of the most commercial records. Which is back to back with Miss Jackson, and then you get Snapping and Trapping, which is like it's hard,
right?
And it's hard in some of the ways when you get older. You look back at rap and you're like, it's a little misogynistic, blah blah blah, but the technique is there, and they're just rapping their asses off.
Yeah, You know, I mean, they definitely, they definitely couldn't fully, obviously, escape the time that they were from, but at the same time, like it's an album that will definitely supersede us for sure. At least in my, as far as I'm concerned, I've never seen music ever going towards that direction. Maybe I'm just jaded, and because a lot of people are like, there hasn't been anything this good since 1963, but like honestly, I have yet to see it. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been great records after that,
right?
But as far as I'm concerned, no record.
That was the last.
What the fuck is this?
Some shit. That was the last time I heard some shit, and I was like, I've never heard this before.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like Stankonia, Black on Both Sides, and like Supreme Clientele all came out within like a year. And it was the last time I remember listening to like classic hip hop and being like, well, this is brand new. Everything else has been, as much as I love Kanye or MF Doom or some Kendrick shit, it's all a takeaway of something somebody else has
done. Even King Cobra is big homages to classic rap, and I know we harp on a lot, like we're trying to make something that nobody's heard before, but it's on a whole album basis. But the songs you can sort of recollect and be like, oh, this is a trap song. Oh, this is a funk song. Oh, this is a classical piece. So it's a whole album, as opposed to Stankonia, which is every song is like unlike any other rap song there is. So I don't know. Like, shout out to them, man. Those are fucking gods. I don't know what they're up to. I don't know. I don't want to know their politics right now. I'd really rather not. It's like, I've met some of my favorite artists and they ended up being like the worst people ever. So if you're listening, I love you. Mwah.
Yeah. We didn't get a chance to meet Big Boy, but we did meet several of the guys from Goody Mob and Sleepy Brown and Backbone. Shout out to Backbone. Shit. We did an interview with Backbone at the Dungeon Family Tour when it came through Philly a couple years ago.
Man, listen, that's awesome.
Those guys were all super sweet, really nice dudes.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
For real.
Really a pleasant surprise.
Shout out to
I was showing my. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me go in. That's fucking.
He's in Baltimore. So.
Yeah, Baltimore City. I'm like right in the middle of the city too.
Where are you guys at? Where you guys located?
Philly.
We're in Philly.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh, we're neighbors.
Yeah.
We're your little brother.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. I grew up in Maryland, right outside of Baltimore, actually.
Where?
I grew up in Ellicott City.
Get out of here.
No way. Yeah. Brian lives in Glen Burnie.
Okay. Yeah. Not far at all.
Ellicott City, where my shrink is at. So I know the area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah, because I was just showing my girlfriend's little brother, he's like born in 98, 99. And he played some Outkast song. And he was like, oh yeah, I don't know. I've never heard any albums. I'm like more of a song guy, which happens. You get Spotify playlists now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And I showed him Dungeon Family. I showed him like Follow the Light, they blink to something. And he was like, whoa. I don't know. It felt good. Yeah. I felt like the old head. Like, what you know about this shit? You know what I mean? It happens to all of us, man. Next thing you know, I'm starting to do that.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, I feel so old that comes to that shit.
Yeah, he wasn't even born, I think, when because Stankonia is 99?
2000.
Yeah.
2000, yeah. Well, his girlfriend was born in 2000. So, like, that to them is ancient history, Jesus. Yeah, I know, man.
Born in 2000 that exists now.
That are adults that finished college,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't believe that, so.
Yeah.
Rob, you never answered the question about... Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, my answer's similar. ATL Aliens is my favorite.
All right, logging off. Goodbye, Rob.
Probably for... No, don't go. Probably for sentimental reasons, honestly. But Stankonia, I mean, I remember the first time listening to this album and Gasoline Dreams came on and I was like, yo, what is this?
What is it, man?
Yeah. It's an album that I'm grateful for because it really stretched me, like, musically, sonically. And some of my favorite Outkast, like, moments are on this album. I really like... There's a run that starts with Humble Mumble.
Yeah, man.
Through Red Velvet.
Red Velvet.
Where I'm just like, it's incredible. And some of the production stuff that happens in there, like they use the sound of glass filling up on the untitled track after drinking again. and they like incorporate that in the beat. It's crazy.
Yo,
They do like pitch shifting on Red Velvet, which I'd never heard before on a record, and now you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just
shout
incredible.
out to Prince, who really made that a thing too. You know, another motherfucker, but who is out of this world. But
little did he know that waiting in the closet, no matter what you call that Playboy show got done.
Yeah. Man, is that Red Velvet is because they know where you live. Man. I have
because like your
very
head is a pound cake, then they shoot you, and now it's bloody. So you're right off.
Come on, man.
How can you measure a nigga by multiple figures he may got? Had he not purchased the newest Mercedes that loses value soon as you drive the bitch off the lot? Would he still be the latest, most wanted, doggone it, you want it? He got it, type nigga around the town. Had he not played it so flashy, ashy, when half of these niggas hurting and working, would he be found?
In a hotel room, shadow, with his dick shoved in, zombie got a lot.
Bill Gates don't dang on diamonds in the face of peasants when he Microsoft in the place. You getting on my nerves, well I'm getting on your case. Consider your surroundings or you leave without a trace. They know where you live and they see what you drive and they say they gonna put one in your helmet. Cause you brag about that boy and all the things that you got. Them dirty hoes, your pound cake, you red velvet.
I know you got the biggest bankroll and you ballin'. Follow the heater because the leader he is hauling ass like Juan Valdez. I think he's scared because my nigga Gujo Goody got that toolie to his head.
And I was a kid. I was like, I love cake. You know, but oh man, shit! It's goddamn what a great record, man. I'm just getting hyped just thinking about it. I'm gonna put it on the moment I hang up on you guys.
You know what? It might be my number one of all time. I'm thinking about it now. It's between,
see, I've convinced you. I'm a good
between
salesman.
Stankonia and Cuban Links for me. So
Now, wait a second. Earlier in our interview, you said something about Life After Death.
Life
being
After
your favorite.
Death. I have like the most memories attached to. I think it's like my first Discman that I got like as a gift, and like I got the album with it. And I would put that at probably like number 3, but I would put Cuban Links ahead of it because that's what Life After Death is. It's like Cuban Links is a pop album. And
yo, guys, actually, I have to hang up because my phone's on 1%.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thanks,
it
Vinny.
was really fun talking to you guys. Good night.
Peace.
All right, peace,
All
bro.
right, peace.
But yeah, just to wrap up that thought, I was just gonna say with Cuban Links, I think it was every rapper's favorite rap album in like the mid-90s in New York.
Yeah.
Because everybody kind of, took that style and kind of ran with it, whether it was the Mafioso, whether it was the beats, whatever. So that's probably my number 1.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Brian, I just have one more question for you.
Sure.
If I am remembering correctly, I think this is Killer Mike's first appearance on an Outkast project.
It is.
And I wonder if Killer Mike is someone that you might cite as an influence on your style.
You know what? A little bit. I always liked his earlier stuff, and obviously the Run the Jewel stuff is cool. But when he had that middle mixtape period, that was when I was like really into him, and I think that did influence the style a little bit, like being hard without being, I don't know, like overly violent, your own people at least, or overly misogynistic, but like your shit still bangs. So yeah, he's up there, but not one of my top ones. I think top would be, Cube, which I mentioned. The vulgarity definitely comes from hardcore, Kim, and like Inspector Deck and Cannabis are like big ones too. A little bit of Rick Ross.
Okay. All right. I can see the Cube, Killer Mike, Brian Ennals connection there. I think
For sure. Yeah. It's definitely there. I think we're in the same, same wavelength.
Yeah.
This has been great.
Yeah, Brian, thank you so much. Thank you, Infinity Knives, for
hey, thank
sitting down
you all.
with us.
This was good.
Really appreciate your time. Is there anything that you want folks to know about where to find the record, where to find the music?
Sure. I mean, we're on all streaming services, Tidal, Spotify, and Apple. Buy it off Bandcamp if you can. We'll have cassettes and merch probably within like the next 2-3 weeks. And if you're in the Brooklyn area, October 2nd, we'll be performing with Shrapnel.
All right.
It's going to be a time.
I'd love to be in Brooklyn for that. Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank y'all so much.
This has been The Next Movement. Thank you for listening. Peace.
Peace.
about that dumb shit. Hang you from a fucking tree, nigga. They still hang you from a tree, nigga.
Yeah, but we was chillin'. Started out in the park, couple kids with some weed, we was ready to spark. We was supposed to get stoned and the shit went dark. Cops came in with their cuffs, trying to break us apart. I smell bait, and I do eat swine. And every pig died, promised we'd be fine. They was made to catch runaway slaves, stop users and put natives in caves. Wasn't even marching, I was going to work, minding my business, bitch, I'm going to work. See, I'm a janitor, put my hands up, they still blinding me in the eye with a tear gas canister. Fuck the police, them crackers is a clan. Wanted to say that, so I made a jam. It is what it is. I could be the last nigga on earth, I'm not tiptoeing for no pig. Badges, give them license to harassers. Coons and Calabasas, most cops die in car crashes. Getting hit while pulling niggas over. Trying to fit a fucking quote.